agree with you when you commit yourself to the importance of finding common ground. Mm-hmm. But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually...
Hello everyone, welcome to a new edition of Viral. I'm your host as always, Kenny Dix here. Glad you can join us here on Viral as we talk about the Democratic debate. Has its ups, has its downs, and like I said, first things first, join in the conversation using the hashtag Viral here on Connect. All right, let's take a look at highlights from the first Democratic debate. Watch this.
We think it is time for change, real change.
Joe Biden was right when he said it was time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans 32 years ago. He's still right today. Pass the torch.
Who here would abolish their private health insurance in favor of a government-run plan?
Medicare for all is how you get to single payer.
Why so many Americans have unnecessary chronic illnesses, so many more compared to other countries.
We had a value-added tax even half the European level. It would generate over $800 billion in new revenue.
America does not want to witness a food fight. They want to know how we're going to put food on their table.
On day one, we take out our executive order pen and we rescind every damn thing on this issue that Trump has done.
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants. Okay.
Actually put them up for adoption. In Colorado, we call that kidnapping.
Governor, you're right. It is kidnapping.
And for a party that associates itself with Christianity, to say that it is okay to suggest that God would smile on the division of families has lost all claim to ever use religious language again.
I do not believe you are a racist. And I agree with you when you commit yourself to the importance of finding common ground. But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful. Do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America? Then, no. Do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education.
So that's where the federal government must step in. That's why we have the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. That's why we need to pass the Equality Act. That's why we need to pass the ERA.
We encourage diversity. We believe in diversity.
A black man, Eric Logan, killed by a white officer. I'm not allowed to take sides until the investigation comes back. The officer said he was attacked with a knife, but he didn't have his body camera on. It's a mess, and we're hurting.
Senator Sanders.
A political revolution.
Climate change and the lack of economic mobility Bernie talks about.
We all talk about these things. I did it.
We've got to fix our democracy before it's too late.
My first call is to Prime Minister of New Zealand. And I will tell her girlfriend you were so on. Because the United States of America is going to be the best place in the world for a child to grow up.
Because I will never nominate any justice to the Supreme Court unless that justice is 100% clear he or she will defend Roe v. Wade.
Pass a $1,000 freedom dividend for every American adult starting at age 18.
Keep your rifles, keep your shotguns, but we can take the most dangerous weapons from the most dangerous people.
Imagine the Parkland kids having as much power in our democracy as the Koch brothers or the NRA.
What is the greatest national security threat to the United States? It's Donald Trump.
All right, as you saw, Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Bernie Sanders, and Kamala Harris were among the candidates who were pouring their hearts out to America to earn their vote against down the road President Trump in the general election in 2020. All right, let's go back to one crucial moment where the self-proclaimed frontrunner Joe Biden said this.
Trump thinks Wall Street built America. Ordinary middle-class Americans built America. My dad used to have an expression. He said, Joe, a job is about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's being able to look your kid in the eye and say everything's going to be okay. Look, this is very personal to me. When my son came home from Iraq after a year, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he was given months to live. I can't fathom what would have happened if, in fact, they said, by the way, the last 6 months of your life, you're on your own. Urgency matters. There's people right now facing what I faced and what we faced without any of the help I had. We must move now. The quickest, fastest way to do it is build on Obamacare, to build on what we did. We would reunite those families, period. The idea that he's in court with his Justice Department saying children in cages do not need a bed, do not need a blanket, do not need a toothbrush. That is outrageous. I would immediately join the Paris Climate Accord. I would up the ante in that accord, which it calls for, because we make up 15% of the problem. 85% of the world makes up the rest. And so we have to have someone who knows how to corral the rest of the world, bring them together, and get something done. We got to unite the United States of America as much as anybody says we can. If we do, there's not a single thing the American people can't do. This is the United States of America. We can do anything if we're together.
All right. Many said it was Joe Biden's night, which it really wasn't. Where Representative Eric Swalwell asked him about him passing the torch. Watch this.
What would you do to help people get the skills they need to adapt to this new world?
We must always be a country where technology creates more jobs than it displaces. And I've seen the anxiety across America where the manufacturing floors go from 1,000 to 100 to 1. So we have to modernize our schools, value the teachers who prepare our kids, wipe the student debt from any teacher that goes into a community that needs it, invest in America's communities, especially where the best exports are people who move away to get skills. But Jose, I was 6 years old when a presidential candidate came to the California Democratic Convention and said, it's time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans. That candidate was then Senator Joe Biden. Joe Biden was right when he said it was time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans 32 years ago. He's still right today. If we're going to solve the issues of automation, pass the torch. If we're going to solve the issues of climate chaos, pass the torch. If we're going to solve the issue of student loan debt, pass the torch. If we're going to end gun violence for families who are fearful of sending their kids to school, pass the torch.
Vice President.
All right, now look, Swalwell was asked Biden to give up and pass the torch to the next leader Democratic candidate. Now, it looks like Swalwell dropped out the race, as we saw right there, but Biden is not willing to pass the torch at this moment. Biden feels like he has ideas and he's trying to implement them in a way for America to see against Trump. And Biden feels like he's the best possibility against Trump in the general election. Well, I could see Swalwell down the road being a future in politics, but we'll see on that. That didn't stop there, as Kamala Harris raised eyebrows and asked Biden this question.
So on the issue of race, I couldn't agree more that this is an issue that is still not being talked about truthfully and honestly. There is not a black man I know, be he a relative, a friend, or a coworker, who has not been the subject of some form of profiling or discrimination. Growing up, my sister and I had to deal with the neighbor who told us her parents couldn't play with us because we were black. And I will say also that in this campaign, we've also heard, and I'm going to now direct this at Vice President Biden, I do not believe you are a racist. And I agree with you when you commit yourself to the importance of finding common ground. Mm-hmm. But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. And, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
It's a mischaracterization of my position across the board. I did not praise racist. That is not true. The fact is that in terms of busing, The busing, you would have been able to go to school the same exact way because it was a local decision made by your city council. That's fine. That's one of the things I argued for, that we should be breaking down these lines.
Vice President Biden, do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No.
Do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I opposed.
Well,
I
there
did
was
not
a
oppose.
failure of states to integrate public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools almost 2 decades after Brown v. Board of Education.
Because your city council made that decision. It was a local decision.
So that's where the federal government must step in. That's why we have the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. That's why we need to pass the Equality Act. That's why we need to pass the ERA, because there are moments in history where states fail to preserve the civil rights of all people.
I have supported the ERA from the very beginning. I'm the guy that extended the Voting Rights Act for 25 years. We got to the place where we got 98 out of 98 votes in the United States Senate doing it. I've also argued very strongly that we, in fact, deal with the notion of denying people access to the ballot box. I agree that everybody, once they, in fact, they should. Anyway, my time's up. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Vice President.
All right, Kamala Harris asking Joe Biden about busing, and Joe Biden said he didn't know at the time, and Kamala Harris said, y'all the government, y'all supposed to override it. So could Kamala Harris have her issue with Biden on that? But maybe Kamala Harris feels like that's where she wants to go and that's what she wants to do. All right. Kamala Harris has her own path where a lot of people saying she likes to incarcerate black men. So you have to wonder about that. Why didn't Biden chew her out on that? Well, he didn't know. So he may didn't know. Well, Kamala Harris' stock has rise due to her performance in the debate and say that she had the momentum. And will Biden find a way to stop the bleeding and figure out a way to win those votes coming from her way and back to his way? Only we'll find out. They know. Only people know what they want to do in their voices in their heart. Well, the Democratic debate was that real, accurate, and sometimes a little bit over the top with Bernie Sanders and Biden and all of them. But, they wanted to help America and stop the bleeding. Kamala Harris said in the issue that people don't want to hear about arguing. They want to hear about how they're going to put food on the table for them down the road. So, hey, we do the Republican debate too if we had to come that way. But President Trump will have something to say. I believe me, he will have something to say in this debate. Thank you all once again for watching Viral, the Democrat debates where the Democrats went had a free fall and it went from left to right. I've been your host, Kenny Dick, saying so long, and we'll see you next time here on Viral.